Hello everybody, and welcome to the monthly stats video for July. Now, in my mind, July was pretty bad, but let's see just how bad it was. We generated 880 kilowatt hours in July, which is about 260 kilowatt hours less than in June. So I guess that answers the question of how bad it was. It was significantly worse. We imported a total of 271 kilowatt hours and we exported 157 kilowatt hours. Now that extra import is because it was such a bad month, so a lot of car charging had to come from the grid. So in July we used a total of 993 kilowatt hours. And you can see that our usage is down as well on previous months, and that's because my software automatically tries to use any power that is being generated. So if we generate less, we'll use a bit less. The cost of that electricity, if we'd been just on a standard tariff and we'd have no solar and batteries, would have been £381.58. So having solar has saved us £326.23, because that's the cost of the electricity that the solar gave us for free. Having a home storage battery and being on the Go tariff saved us about £68. And that's the difference between the price we had to pay for that energy that we bought during the cheap night rate on Octopus Go, compared with if we'd bought it at a standard daytime tariff rate. Our FIT export payments for the month earned us £135.33. So the total cost to us for 993 kilowatt hours of electricity in July was £46.75, and £13.37 of that is the standing charge, which we obviously can't do anything about. So that means the average price that we paid per kilowatt hour in July was 3.36 pence. So that's a little bit more than June, as you'd expect, because we haven't generated nearly as much as we did in June, but still pretty good. So our electricity bill for July was £46.75. FIT payment was £135.33 for the month, which means our total cost of energy in July was again £0, and in fact we actually made £88.59. All these profits that we make during the summer months from the FIT scheme will help to offset the costs where we have to buy in a lot of electricity during the winter months because we don't get that much from the solar anymore. But still, by the end of the year, it should all come even. Now let's have a look at the pie charts, as we always do, and you can see here the pie chart for the used versus exported. So of all the energy we generated, how much did we manage to use in the house and how much did we have to export? And you can see it's not a great month this month. We have exported nearly 18% of all the energy. You know, usually we manage to keep about 95%, and we only export about 5%. But we've exported nearly 18% this month, and I think that pretty much comes down to the fact that we went on holiday for a week, and so there was no energy use in the house. All the stuff was switched off basically, so any power coming from the solar panels once the house batteries had recharged from the small amount they'd have lost from just running the fridge and freezer and stuff. The rest of it would have just been exported, so that's why it's particularly high this month. When you compare it to June, you can see that it's a much bigger proportion being exported. So now let's have a look at the pie chart that shows where all the generated electricity came from, broken down by inverter. And we can see that 63.5% comes from my Solax inverter, and 14.5% comes from my 1 kilowatt Growatt inverter. Both of those inverters have their panels mounted on my main roof. And then we've got 12% coming from the 2 kilowatt inverter, which has the wall mounted panels on it, and 10% from my shed based inverter, my off-grid inverter, which just has a kilowatt of panels that are on the roof of the shed. You can see them at the beginning of my intro of my video. And if you compare that to the month before, it's broadly similar. Obviously just less amounts of generation, but as proportions it's still about the same as you'd expect, because June, July should be about the same in terms of sunlight hours. Now let's look at the final pie chart, which is the energy mix pie chart. So this shows of all the energy we consumed in the house, where it came from, and you can see that the vast majority of it, nearly 3/4, came from the solar, which was free, and then 23.5% basically was during the cheap night rate available on Octopus Go, and then just a small proportion, 3%, was consumed during the daytime rate, which is the more expensive rate. And if we compare that to the previous month, you can see that there's a much bigger proportion of cheap grid usage compared to June, and that's because we've generated so much less electricity because July has been so bad for sunny days. How have you found July for sunny days? Has it presumably been as bad for all of you as it has for me? I think it's pretty much a countrywide thing, so I expect to see everybody's results down for July compared with June, which was particularly good. Our best day was on the 7th of July, and on that day we generated almost 50 kilowatt hours. And here's the graph for that day. It's pretty uninterrupted. It's a pretty nice smooth curve. Must have been a particularly good day. And our worst day was on the 14th of July, and on that day we generated just 7.3 kilowatt hours. And here is the graph for that day, and it's not terrible, but you can see it wasn't a particularly sunny day. Now we'll look at the bar charts showing my half-hourly usage for each day of the month, and you can see that we started off the month importing a little bit, but then we had a nice period of no import days, and we had about 9 consecutive days near the beginning of the month where we didn't import anything, effectively off-grid. And then towards the middle of the month we had to charge the cars a couple of times during the night. And I think even the house batteries had to be charged once or twice because the days had been so bad in July. So total off-grid days in July was 24, which is not bad considering, and consecutive days was just 9, which means the total off-grid days for the year so far is 91. and the biggest long consecutive off-grid streak is still 25 days, which was done in June. So yeah, not too bad really, considering how bad it was in July. Well, that's the stats for July. It was pretty bad compared with June, which was truly exceptional, but even compared to last year's July, I think was probably down, because it's we were well under the megawatt hour, which is I'd expect to be getting very close to that in a normal June, being as it's one of the longest months, longest daylight months of the year, where you get the longest days. So I'm considering whether or not to swap from the Octopus Go tariff to the Intelligent Octopus tariff. I'm still looking into all the ins and outs of it, but at the moment I can't really see any downsides, but I'm sure I'm missing something. But in the meantime, if anyone else wants to join Octopus and try out one of their intelligent tariffs, please do use my referral code. It's on the screen now, and we'll both get rewarded with some credit on our bills. So thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Cheers.